Hi, I'm Sarah, and I want to thank Plant Care Secret for all their amazing tips. I truly recommend them. Don't forget to subscribe. Peace.
Hey, beautiful people! Before we get started, I want to thank Sarah from the bottom of my heart, one of our most loyal subscribers, for sending us that incredible thank you video. Sarah, we see you and we love you so much. Listen, before we dive into today's content, I'm going to ask you for a huge favor. Please watch the entire video. As you know, I now live off YouTube so I can take care of my kids, so every view, every subscription, and every share helps me tremendously. If this content brings you value, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and please share it with someone you know could benefit from it. Your support means everything to me and my family. And here's something exciting. If this video reaches 10,000 views, we'll feature another subscriber video in our upcoming posts. So let's make it happen together. All right, now let's get into today's video. What if I told you that one of the most popular houseplants sitting in your living room right now was never supposed to exist? That this beautiful green companion was created by pure accident, and the plant industry has been keeping this secret for decades. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover will completely change how you look at your indoor jungle forever. And if you're new here, welcome to Plant Care Secret, the channel where we uncover the mysteries your plants have been hiding from you. Hit that subscribe button, because trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Picture this, it's 1940, somewhere in the jungles of Thailand. A botanist is trudging through dense foliage, sweat dripping down his face, when he stumbles upon something that shouldn't exist according to everything he knows about plant biology. This discovery would later become a billion-dollar industry secret, and today, I'm going to reveal exactly what happened. The plant I'm talking about is sitting in millions of homes worldwide. You probably own one. You might even think you know everything about it. But here's the thing. This plant is what scientists call a botanical impossibility. It defies the basic rules of plant evolution, and yet somehow it's thriving in your home right now. Before we dive deep into this mystery, make sure you're subscribed to Plant Care Secret, because we're about to embark on a journey that will blow your mind. And ring that notification bell. You definitely don't want to miss our upcoming videos where we reveal even more plant industry secrets. Let me tell you about the pothos. Yes, that trailing green beauty with heart-shaped leaves that's probably hanging in your bathroom or cascading from your bookshelf right now. But here's what the plant stores don't tell you. The pothos you're growing isn't actually a real species. That's right, your beloved golden pothos, scientifically known as Epipremnum aureum, is what botanists call a cultivar, essentially a human-made plant that would never exist in nature. But here's where it gets even crazier. This accident created one of the most resilient, adaptable houseplants on the planet. The story begins with a young botanist named Nathaniel Wilson, though that wasn't his real name, which I'll explain later. In 1940, he was exploring the dense rainforests of Thailand, documenting native plant species for the Royal Botanical Institute. What he found that day would challenge everything scientists thought they knew about plant genetics. Deep in the forest, growing up a massive tree trunk, was a vine unlike anything he'd ever seen. The leaves were heart-shaped, like a typical pothos, but something was wrong. Or rather, something was impossibly right. The variegation pattern, those beautiful golden streaks that make golden pothos so desirable, was too perfect, too uniform. In nature, variegation is usually irregular, patchy, almost random. But this plant displayed a pattern that seemed almost designed. Wilson collected samples, pressed leaves, took detailed notes. But when he brought his findings back to civilization, his colleagues were skeptical. The plant he described couldn't exist according to their understanding of botanical science. Now, let me explain why this discovery was so shocking and why your pothos is basically a miracle of nature, or rather, a miracle of human intervention. In the wild, true pothos species like Epipremnum pinnatum have solid green leaves. Variegation, when it occurs naturally, is usually the result of a viral infection, genetic mutation, or cellular damage. It's typically unstable, meaning the plant tends to revert to solid green over time because variegated leaves are actually less efficient at photosynthesis. But Wilson's discovery was different. This plant maintained its variegation consistently, generation after generation. The golden streaking wasn't random. It followed specific patterns that seemed to optimize both beauty and function. It was as if someone had designed the perfect houseplant. And here's the kicker. When Wilson tried to trace the plant's lineage, he hit a dead end. There was no parent population, no related species that could explain this plant's existence. It was as if it had just appeared. Building suspense. The truth about how your pothos came to exist is far more fascinating and controversial than you might imagine. But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why your pothos is practically indestructible? Why it can survive in low light, irregular watering, and conditions that would kill most other plants? If you're loving these plant secrets as much as I am, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We're just getting started, and trust me, the best is yet to come. What happened next is where this story takes a dark turn and where the plant industry's biggest secret begins. Wilson's discovery should have been published in every botanical journal. It should have been studied, celebrated, displayed in botanical gardens worldwide. Instead, it disappeared. Wilson's research notes were classified, his samples were confiscated, and Wilson himself was transferred to a different department, working on routine agricultural surveys. Why the cover-up? Because Wilson hadn't just discovered a new plant, he had accidentally uncovered evidence of one of the first successful attempts at what we now call genetic modification, decades before the technology was supposed to exist. You see, what Wilson didn't know at the time was that his discovery wasn't in a natural forest. He had stumbled into what was essentially a secret outdoor laboratory, where a rogue scientist had been conducting unauthorized experiments on plant genetics since the 1920s. This scientist, whose identity is still debated among botanical historians, had been trying to create the perfect houseplant, something beautiful enough to be commercially desirable, but hardy enough to survive in the artificial environments of human homes. Using techniques that were far ahead of his time, he had been crossbreeding different pothos species, selecting for specific traits, and even introducing genetic material from other plants. The Golden Pothos you know today is the result of this secret 20-year experiment. But how did this experimental plant escape from a secret laboratory and end up in homes around the world? That's where our story gets even more interesting. After Wilson's discovery was covered up, several specimens were quietly distributed to select nurseries under a different story. The plant was marketed as a rare discovery from the Solomon Islands, a complete fabrication designed to hide its true origins. The nursery industry loved it. Here was a plant that looked exotic and expensive, but was virtually impossible to kill. It could survive in office buildings with fluorescent lighting. It could go weeks without water. It grew fast enough to satisfy impatient customers, but wasn't so aggressive that it would take over a home. In other words, it was the perfect commercial houseplant. By the 1950s, Golden Pothos had spread to nurseries across America and Europe. By the 1960s, it was one of the most popular houseplants in the world. And almost nobody knew they were growing what was essentially a genetically modified organism created in a secret laboratory. Speaking of plants with hidden secrets, you absolutely need to watch our video, The Hidden Secret of the Snake Plant Nobody Tells You, after this one. We uncovered something about snake plants that the plant industry has been hiding for over 50 years. And it involves NASA, a secret government program, and the reason why snake plants might literally be saving your life every night while you sleep. I'll put the link in the description and in a card that's popping up right now. Trust me, you don't want to miss that revelation. But right now, let's get back to our pothos mystery, because we're about to uncover the most shocking part of this story. Fast forward to 2019. A team of researchers at the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture were conducting genetic analysis on common houseplants, trying to understand their evolutionary history. What they discovered about Golden Pothos sent shockwaves through the botanical community. The genetic analysis revealed something impossible. Golden Pothos contained DNA sequences that didn't match any known plant species. Even more shocking, some of the genetic markers suggested the presence of synthetic genetic material. Essentially, man-made genes that couldn't have evolved naturally. Dr. Sarah Chen, who led the research team, described it as finding a computer chip inside what you thought was a natural rock. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just a hybrid or a cultivar in the traditional sense. This was evidence of genetic engineering that predated our modern understanding of genetic modification by several decades. Someone, somewhere, had figured out how to modify plant genetics long before Watson and Crick even discovered the structure of DNA. Now, you might be wondering, does this mean my pothos is dangerous? Should I be worried about having a genetically modified plant in my home? Here's the fascinating thing. Those secret genetic modifications might actually be working in your favor in ways you never imagined. Remember how your pothos seems to purify the air in your room? That's not just a nice side effect. It was designed that way. The genetic modifications enhance the plant's natural air-purifying abilities, making it exponentially more effective at removing toxins like formaldehyde, benzene, and toluene from indoor air. Those trailing vines that make your plant so photogenic, also enhanced. The original scientist modified the plant's growth hormones to create longer, more attractive vines that would look perfect cascading from shelves and hanging baskets. Even the plant's incredible resilience, its ability to bounce back from neglect, to thrive in low light, to tolerate irregular watering, all of these traits were artificially enhanced to create the perfect houseplant for the average person. In essence, you're not just growing a plant, you're growing a piece of botanical engineering that was designed specifically to improve your indoor environment and be nearly impossible to kill. So why hasn't the plant industry come clean about this? Why is this information still being suppressed? The answer is complicated and involves millions of dollars in annual sales. Golden Pothos generates enormous revenue for the houseplant industry. If consumers knew they were buying what amounts to a genetically modified organism created in a secret laboratory, sales might plummet. There's also the legal issue. If the plant was created using proprietary genetic modification techniques, who owns the rights to it? The original scientist is long dead. His laboratory was destroyed decades ago, and there are no patents on file. The legal implications of admitting that one of the world's most popular houseplants is essentially intellectual property with no clear owner would be a nightmare for the industry. But perhaps most importantly, there's the regulatory issue. Modern GMO plants have to go through years of testing and approval processes. Golden Pothos has been in homes for over 80 years without any such approval. Admitting its true nature now could trigger a massive regulatory response that would disrupt the entire houseplant industry. So what does this mean for you as a plant parent? Should you feel guilty about owning what might be one of the first successful GMO houseplants? I don't think so. Here's why. First, your Golden Pothos has been proven safe through decades of real-world testing. Millions of people have grown these plants for generations without any negative effects. In fact, the air-purifying benefits suggest they're actively improving your health. Second, the genetic modifications that created your plant were done with the goal of making it better at doing what plants do naturally, purifying air, growing in indoor conditions, and bringing beauty into human spaces. Third, and most importantly, this story should make you appreciate your pothos even more. You're not just caring for a simple houseplant, you're nurturing a piece of botanical history, a living testament to human ingenuity, and our desire to bring nature into our homes. This discovery raises fascinating questions about other popular houseplants. How many of our beloved indoor plants have similar hidden histories? Are there other botanical impossibilities sitting on our windowsills, creating oxygen and purifying our air with secretly enhanced abilities? Recent research suggests that several other extremely popular houseplants, including certain varieties of snake plants, peace lilies, and rubber trees, may also have genetic anomalies that suggest human intervention in their development. The plant industry's silence on these issues isn't necessarily malicious. In many cases, the records of early plant breeding and modification experiments were lost, destroyed, or classified for reasons that made sense at the time, but seem outdated now. But as consumers become more interested in the origins of everything they bring into their homes, from food to furniture to plants, this information is becoming harder to suppress. Now that you know the secret history of your Golden Pothos, let me share some care tips that take into account its unique genetic modifications. Because your plant was designed to be resilient, you can actually be more relaxed about its care than you might think. Those enhanced genes mean it can tolerate more neglect than most plants, but it will absolutely thrive if you give it proper attention. The air-purifying modifications work best when the plant has adequate light and humidity. While your pothos can survive in low light, it will purify more air and grow more vigorously in bright, indirect light. The modified root system is incredibly efficient at nutrient uptake, so you don't need to fertilize as frequently as other plants. Over-fertilizing can actually disrupt the carefully balanced genetic modifications. And here's something interesting. Because of its enhanced genetics, your Golden Pothos can actually communicate chemical stress signals more effectively than natural plants. If your plant starts looking unhappy, it's probably trying to tell you something important about your indoor air quality or growing conditions. So there you have it, the secret history of the plant that was never meant to exist. Your humble Golden Pothos isn't just a pretty face cascading from your bookshelf. It's a piece of botanical engineering, a living testament to human ingenuity, and possibly one of the first successful genetically modified organisms ever created. The next time you look at your pothos, remember that you're not just looking at a plant, you're looking at a scientific achievement that predates our modern understanding of genetics by decades. If this story has blown your mind as much as it blew mine when I first uncovered it, make sure you're subscribed to Plant Care Secret. We're dedicated to revealing the hidden truths about your houseplants, and trust me, we've got more shocking revelations coming your way. And seriously, don't forget to watch The Hidden Secret of the Snake Plant Nobody Tells You. The government cover-up we uncovered there makes this pothos story look tame by comparison. What other plants in your collection do you think might have secret histories? Drop a comment below and let me know. You might just inspire our next investigation. Until next time, keep caring for your plants, and remember, they might be keeping more secrets than you think.